Okay, so let's jump right in. AI, everyone's talking about it, especially how it's going to change the job market.
Yeah.
And, lots of folks are worried, right? But when you think about autistic people and the unique challenges they already face finding work, well, it gets even more complicated, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's this fear that AI will just make things harder for autistic people, like it'll make those inequalities even worse.
Right. And that's exactly what we're going to get into today. We're diving deep into resources from Cheap ABA. They're a great organization all about supporting the autism community.
Hmm.
And they've got tons of info on their website and their blog about all this. And get this, they directly call that fear we were just talking about a myth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh, that's interesting. So why do I think that fear is misguided?
Well, they make a really compelling case. They actually say that AI can be a super powerful tool, and, I love this, for matching people with jobs that really fit their skills and interests.
Okay, so instead of thinking about like robots stealing jobs, we should be thinking about AI as like a matchmaker.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like, think about the traditional way of looking for a job. Scrolling through endless listings, most of them not even a good fit.
Oh, tell me about it.
But what if, and here's where it gets exciting, what if there was this platform that could analyze your resume, not just for keywords, but for the underlying skills that might not be obvious, kind of like reading between the lines.
Whoa, hold on. That sounds incredible, especially for people who aren't like the best at bragging about themselves.
Right. Exactly.
Wow.
And think about it. This is especially important for autistic individuals
Hmm.
because they often have these strengths that are so valuable in today's world, like in tech and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Like what kind of strengths specifically?
Well, Cheap ABA talks about things like attention to detail,
Mm-hmm.
being able to focus really deeply,
Mm.
and a talent for pattern recognition, which is huge these days.
Wow, yeah, that's all super relevant, especially for fields like data analysis or software development.
Totally. And those are strengths that are often associated with autism. So it's
Yeah.
almost like AI is helping us flip the script.
Mm.
Instead of seeing autism as a limitation, it's helping us recognize it as this source of talent and ability.
I like that, flipping the script, and that is really powerful.
Right. It's almost like AI is breaking down these old barriers and creating a more inclusive workplace.
Okay, but is this actually happening, or is this just like wishful thinking?
No, it's happening right now.
Mm.
Companies like Microsoft and SAP, big companies,
Yeah.
have actually incorporated AI into their hiring processes, specifically to attract and hire autistic people.
Oh, wow. So this isn't just some futuristic idea. It's really happening.
Exactly. But how does it work? Are they using AI to specifically find autistic candidates?
Well, not necessarily like targeting them directly. It's more about creating a system that's sensitive to neurodiversity. For example, some companies are using AI to analyze job descriptions and rewrite them to make them more appealing to autistic individuals.
So instead of using jargon or vague language, they're making it more concrete and task-oriented.
Yeah, exactly. And they're also using AI to assess candidates based on their skills, right? Rather than relying on traditional interviews, which can be tricky for some autistic people.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. It's like leveling the playing field so everyone has a fair chance to show what they can do.
Exactly. And AI can be a powerful tool for that.
Okay, so it really feels like AI could be a game changer for autistic people looking for jobs. But, and there's always a but, right? There are two sides to every coin.
Yeah, of course. I mean, while there's this huge potential for good, there are also challenges and concerns, things we need to be careful about.
Right, so let's talk about those challenges. What
Yeah.
are some of the potential downsides here?
Well, one concern is that AI could actually make existing biases worse if we're not careful. Like, if the data used to train the AI is already biased, then the AI will just learn to be biased too.
So it's not just about the tech itself, it's about the people behind it and the data they're using.
Exactly.
That's a really important point.
Yeah, and that's why it's so crucial to have diverse voices involved in developing and using these AI systems. We need to make sure they're designed with fairness and equity in mind from the very beginning.
So it's like a call for responsible AI development, right?
Yeah.
Making sure these powerful tools are used to create a more just and inclusive world.
Exactly. And that conversation needs to be happening everywhere, from the tech companies who are building the algorithms to the employers who are using them to hire people.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
We need to be talking about this, asking tough questions, and holding each other accountable.
Couldn't agree more. And this brings us to another important part of this whole discussion, the autism tax.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that term before, but I'm not totally sure what it means.
So it's basically used to describe all the extra costs, financial, emotional, social, that autistic people often have to deal with throughout their lives.
Oh, okay, I see.
Think about things like therapy, special education, assistive technology. These are big expenses that most people don't even have to think about.
Yeah, that's true. It's like this invisible hurdle that most people don't even realize is there.
Exactly. And that financial burden can make it even harder to find and keep a job. And then there's the emotional side of things, navigating a world that isn't always built for your needs.
Right, that makes sense. So it sounds like AI can be part of the solution,
Yeah.
but it's not like a magic wand. We need to address those deeper, bigger issues too.
Absolutely. We need systemic change, policies and practices that level the playing field for everyone. And that's where things get really interesting because it's not just about the tech anymore. It's about ethics, it's about the social implications, and this is where the listener comes in.
Wait, what do you mean? How does the listener fit into all of this?
Well, if we want to shape the future of work in a way that benefits everyone, we need everyone to be part of this conversation. People need to be informed, they need to ask questions, and demand better from the tech we're creating and using.
So it's a call to action, right?
Yeah.
Be informed, advocate for a more just and inclusive future.
Exactly. And that future starts with recognizing the unique talents and contributions of neurodiverse individuals and creating a world where those talents are valued and celebrated.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it actually connects to something else I found really interesting in the cheap ABA stuff. They talk about how AI could actually help dismantle some of those misconceptions about autism.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more about that.
They argue that AI could be used to educate employers about the strengths of autistic individuals,
Yeah.
like challenge stereotypes and promote a more nuanced understanding of neurodiversity.
So instead of reinforcing those negative biases, AI could actually help break them down.
Exactly.
Wow, that would be amazing.
Right. Do you have any examples of how that might work in practice?
Hmm. Well, imagine an AI-powered training program for employers, right? It could help them understand the different ways autistic people communicate and interact, highlight their skills and perspectives, maybe even simulate different communication styles so employers can experience those differences firsthand.
That's amazing. It's like AI could be a bridge between two worlds that often misunderstand each other.
Yeah, I like that, a bridge.
Okay, this is starting to feel really hopeful again. I mean, there are challenges, for sure, but there are also so many opportunities.
You're right, there are. And it's up to us to seize those opportunities, to use our creativity to build a future that is both innovative and inclusive.
I love that.
Mhm.
So we've talked about the potential benefits of AI, the risks, the ethical stuff, the autism tax, and the need for big systemic change. But what does all this actually mean for autistic people looking for work right now? What should they be doing to prepare for this future?
That's a great question, and one we'll dive into more deeply after a quick break.
Sounds good. We'll be right back. Okay, so we've been talking a lot about AI and the job market, especially for autistic people. And right before the break, we were about to get into some practical tips, for folks who are out there looking for work right now.
Yeah, it's one thing to talk about the big picture, but it's another to actually be in the trenches of the job search.
Totally. So where does someone even start?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to really focus on your strengths. Think about what you're good at, what you're passionate about, and don't let those traditional expectations hold you back.
Right. And remember, those strengths might not be the ones that were traditionally valued in the past. But as we've been saying, AI is kind of changing the game, right? So skills like pattern recognition, that attention to detail, systems thinking, those are becoming super valuable.
Yeah, exactly. And those are often strengths that autistic people have in abundance. So it's about recognizing the value of that neurodiversity and finding the roles that really fit.
The cheap ABA folks talk a lot about self-advocacy, which can be tough for some people, especially if they're used to masking their autism. So what does self-advocacy actually look like in the job market?
That's a great question. It does require a certain level of vulnerability, being willing to speak up for your needs, and sometimes even challenge those preconceived notions people might have. But ultimately, it's really empowering.
It's like owning your neurodiversity and seeing it as an asset, not a liability.
Exactly. And finding those allies, the people who get you, who support you. It could be a mentor, a therapist, a family member, even a supportive employer. Having those people in your corner makes a world of difference.
And let's not forget about technology. AI can actually be a tool for self-advocacy too, right?
Oh, absolutely. There are apps and platforms designed to help autistic people communicate their needs, find accommodations, connect with resources, all that.
So we've got a lot to be hopeful about. It seems like AI could really reshape the job market in a way that benefits everyone, including neurodiverse individuals. But, like we've been saying, it's up to all of us to make sure that happens.
Couldn't agree more. We need to stay informed, stay engaged, and advocate for a future where everyone has a chance to contribute.
And that future starts with recognizing that neurodiversity isn't a deficit, it's a strength, right?
Exactly. It's about seeing the world through different eyes, thinking differently, approaching problems in new ways.
It's about embracing the full spectrum of human potential and creating a world where everyone, truly everyone, has the opportunity to shine.
That's beautiful.
So for our listeners out there who are on the spectrum and maybe wondering what the future holds, remember this. You are not alone. There are resources, there are people who understand, and there's a place for you in this world.
Absolutely. And as AI continues to change things, let's make sure that future values neurodiversity, celebrates those differences, and creates opportunities for everyone to thrive.
This has been an incredible deep dive. And honestly, I feel like we've only scratched the surface. The intersection of AI and autism, it's complex, it's constantly evolving, and it deserves our attention.
It really does. It's a conversation we need to keep having, a future we need to shape together.
So to all our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey of exploration and discovery. Keep diving deep, keep asking those questions, and keep believing in the power of human potential.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And on that note, we'll catch you next time for another deep dive. We were just talking about self-advocacy and really owning those strengths. So what are some practical things that someone on the spectrum can actually do to make those strengths stand out when they're like looking for a job?
Well, one thing I always recommend is showcasing your skills through projects, Like build a portfolio. So if you're into programming, for example, you could contribute to open source projects or even build your own apps. And if you're more like visually creative, you can put together a portfolio of design work. Those kinds of tangible examples really show what you can do, even if a traditional resume doesn't quite capture it all.
Yeah, it's like show, don't tell.
Yeah,
Right? So much better than just saying, I'm good at this.
And another thing is to really tailor your application materials to the specific job you're going for. Like, do your research on the company, the role, really understand what they're looking for. Then you can highlight those parts of your experience and skills that really match up with their needs.
Okay, so it's not just about having a generic resume and cover letter. You really got to customize it each time.
Right, exactly. And when it comes to interviews, practice your answers to those common interview questions. Think about how you can talk about your strengths and your experiences in a way that really connects with the interviewer. Maybe even do some role playing with a friend or mentor just to get comfortable with the format.
The cheap ABA materials also mention seeking out autism-friendly employers. How can someone even figure out which companies those are?
Well, there are actually a lot of resources online that list companies known for their inclusive hiring practices and commitment to neurodiversity. Organizations like the ARC and Autism Speaks, they often have those kinds of lists. And you can also do some research on companies that partner with autism advocacy groups, or look for companies that have publicly talked about their commitment to diversity and inclusion.
So it's like doing your homework, finding those companies that are, actually walking the walk.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're interviewing, don't be afraid to ask them about their culture, Ask about their policies on accommodations, how they create an inclusive environment.
Right. It's like you're interviewing them too, making sure it's a good fit for you.
Absolutely. And remember, job searching can be tough for anyone. But for autistic individuals, it's really important to have a good support system in place. Surround yourself with people who believe in you and your abilities.
Like find your tribe, your cheerleaders, the people who lift you up and remind you how awesome you are.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to seek out professional help if you need it, Career counselors, therapists, they can provide great guidance and support.
It's like asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness.
Totally agree.
It shows you're serious about investing in yourself and your future.
Right. And remember, finding the right job, it's a journey, not a destination. There will be bumps in the road, setbacks, successes, all of it. But with persistence, self-belief, and a strong support system, you can absolutely achieve your goals.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. As AI keeps changing the job market, it's so important to have these discussions and make sure everyone has a chance to succeed.
I couldn't agree more. And it's important to remember that AI is just one piece of the puzzle. Creating a truly inclusive workplace, it takes a lot more than that. We need to address those systemic barriers, promote understanding, and celebrate everyone's unique talents.
So well said. To all our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've learned a lot and feel empowered to navigate this crazy job market with confidence and optimism.
And remember, the future of work is being shaped right now. And we all have a part to play in creating a future that's inclusive, innovative, and full of opportunity for everyone.
What a powerful message. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.